Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome inside Enterprise Center. Blues Game Day live here with the morning skate going on right behind us. Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final, and St. Louis Blues trailing the series 2-1, coming off of a disappointing Game 3, and they'll look to try and tie that series up tonight. Chris Kerber, Joe Vitale with you here this morning, and Joe, rebound game, and that seems to have been the theme all playoff long for the St. Louis Blues. It's amazing to me the number of questions that I continue to get asked is, can this team rebound? Well, they've done it all playoffs. Why wouldn't it happen again?
Yeah, it's a question that the Blues have pretty much hammered out and ironed out the entire postseason, not even going back to January, Curbs. And we were sitting up in Boston. I remember after Game 1, it was a pretty lopsided victory for the Boston Bruins. We knew it would be a response game for the St. Louis Blues. It came out in Game 2, probably played some of the best hockey of all the postseason they had. They come out, they win that game. There's no question the team is definitely going to be better here tonight. So many areas to get cleaned up on, and it looks like they're going to get a couple guys back in the lineup as well.
One of the challenges that the Blues are trying to work through in this series, and it relates to staying out of the penalty box, but it's how do you play the game you want to play and stay out of the penalty box. We are seeing this series called tighter than we have seen those other 3 series. We're seeing some of those smaller infractions that don't seem to matter have an impact on a play called, and that's where the Blues have to try and clean things up and keep this 5-on-5. 5-on-5, they can skate as well as anybody, and may be the best 5-on-5 team in the postseason.
Well, I think, this time of the year is all about adjustments. How do you adjust coaching staff, players alike? I think that you're right. This is probably the tightest playoff final I've seen in a long time. The refs are calling, but I think they're calling it consistently. It's one of those things where for the adjustment for the St. Louis Blues is, while you want to play that physical game, you want to take it to the edge, you can't cross the edge. Things in front of the net after the whistle. The refs are taking 2, they're taking 1 at sometimes, stepping in front of players. And they're
St. Louis Blues trying to come back from that game where they gave up 4 power play goals. You are going to end up in the penalty box at some point in time. So as Craig Berube said, we just have to be better on the penalty kill.
You got to be better. You got to be a little bit more poised. And I love the aggressiveness. I mean, you talk about the Pastrnak goal, just for example. Yes, he's all alone in front, but the Blues are aggressive in the corner. You want to be aggressive, but a good kill is all about that balance. You got to know when to be aggressive, and you got to know when to be patient. I think the Blues got a little scattered at times there in Game 3. Look for those adjustments here in Game 4 tonight, but without question, the penalty kill's got to be better. The power play can improve. 5-on-5 can improve. I actually thought 5-on-5 in that Game 3, I thought they carried the play a lot. This is a funny series. It's been momentum back and forth, and not just momentum curves, but I'm talking 10, 12, 15 minutes without the other team getting a shot on net.
Right.
Huge momentum swings in this game. It really reminds me, and we talked about it after the game the other day, you punch, I punch kind of series, so I'll look for the Blues again to have a big response here tonight.
Taking advantage of opportunities is always important in the game when you're a player and you get a chance. You saw what Jordan Binnington did when they put him in net in Philadelphia, and he never looked back. Well, because of the suspension of Oscar Sundqvist, Zach Sanford got into the lineup. Played on that 4th line. He was terrific. He had a terrific game. He earned an opportunity to come back into the lineup, and at least based on the lineups that we saw rushed here in warmups. Now, things can obviously change. Some guys could still be off having a maintenance day. We'll hear from Craig Berube in just a little bit. But it looks as if Zach Sanford is going to stay in the lineup. You and I talked about that on the broadcast side after the last game. And it looks as if he's going to go on a line with Ryan O'Reilly and David Perron. Robbie Fabry may be the guy out of the lineup again. Sammy Blais on the line rushes appears to be in. And Sammy Blais will drop down a line as well. So he's earned that opportunity. He played well, and they're going to need him to play even better in Game 4.
They will. We talked about it after the game as well. You're right, Curbs. When you get put in a situation, you want to make it difficult for the coach to have to take you back out. Zach Sanford, a tremendous story, gets into the game. It not only plays well, gets a great assist. I thought he was one of the most visible players for the Blues. And Craig Berube had a very difficult decision to make. It appears that he will be in again here tonight. I expect Oscar Sundqvist to be slotted back in that 4th line role, or you call it the 4th line role, with Steen and Barbashev. That's been such a great shutdown line. That's something that Craig Berube's really wanted to use against that top line. He wasn't allowed to use it in Game 3 because Sundqvist was out. But look for that here again tonight. Maybe Sammy Blais drops down a little bit, but Zach Sanford earned the right to get another game, and not only another game, Curves, but like you mentioned, playing with guys like O'Reilly, maybe even David Perron, some pretty good players.
All right, and on the defensive side, it looks as if Vince Dunn is back in and ready to go. Again, this is all based on the way we saw the line rushes here at the morning skate. And if he's in, he was skating with Carl Gunnarsson. That means Robert Bortuzzo could be the the odd man out defensively here for the St. Louis Blues. They get Vince Dunn back in there. They get a little more mobility. They get a guy that can be effective on the power play.
Yeah, Vince Dunn moves the puck very well. He moves his skates. He's got great vision, and you mentioned on the power play still needs to improve. It could really win or lose you some games here as we go down this stretch, and Vince Dunn, he's been the captain on that second unit for a long time now. He's got good vision. He's got good deception. He's got offensive instincts, which the really Blues can use in all facets of the game right now, and he pinches. He pinches maybe better than any Blues player on this team, which is also going to sustain that offensive zone time, which the Blues really lacked in Game 3.
A lot of times coach will pull a goaltender, and then they get asked, well, what was your thinking? Well, the thinking here was pretty obvious. Yeah. The game was spiraling out of control. You got a chance to give him a little bit extra rest, and you don't take the chance of him getting run into, bumped into, or injured in that scenario. But there was no doubt in Craig Berube's mind when he pulled Jordan Binnington from that last game that Jordan Binnington was going to start Game 4.
No, he'll be in here tonight, and this is a goaltender that has responded very well. Look at the postseason numbers just really quickly. I mean, he's 6-2 after a loss in the postseason, a .935 save percentage. He's a player that just rebounds very well. He's a poised kid. Look for Binnington to be back in the net here tonight.
All right, so a lot of fun. It is Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final. Blues are going to try to tie this series up at 2 games apiece. If they can do that, then we know that this best of 7 will become a best of 3, and we'll still have a Game 6 on home ice no matter what. Now, plenty of activities going outside the building and in. The gates opening up at 5 o'clock. For the Bud Light pregame party here inside the building. Of course, you've got the stage outside as well, and plenty of opportunities, even if you don't have a ticket, to come down and join the watch parties outside and have all out of fun. And I believe there's some surprises that they'll be doing in terms of, who's going to get escorted over to that big outdoor stage and help hype up the crowd. So get on down here for that. For all the information on that stuff, go to stlouisblues.com/playoffs. It's a 7 o'clock game tonight. You can catch the game on the radio side on KMOX as we've got the action between the Blues and the Bruins here in the Stanley Cup Final. For Joe, I'm Chris. Have a great game day, everybody. Bleed blue, and we'll see you tonight.